Okay. Good evening. Welcome to Three Peas in a Podcast. We are three sisters, and we are just inviting you into our conversations. Hop in the comment section and engage, and let us know your thoughts. I am Veronica.
I am both.
And I am EM. Thank you for joining us today.
Okay, and I guess I will go ahead and start. And so, as I read through my content, the word I want you all to think about is degeneracy and culture. Those are the two words that I kind of want you all to think about. And then we'll kind of go into the discussion as to, why I wanted you all to kind of put those two words in the back of your head. It's going to be a couple of conversations going on, but hopefully, I think you all will be able to follow me. Okay, so here we go. So singer-songwriter India Arie recently criticized Young Miami's song "Spin That." Now, what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go ahead and put the lyrics to that song up. I'll go ahead and put that up, and as I read, you all might have already, and I didn't even put all of it. This is just the first few verses, whatever. Okay, so she recently criticized Young Mami's song "Spin That," expressing concern that lyrics celebrating materialism, sexual objectification, and low self-worth um, tied to money and self-worth tied to money can have a harmful influence on listeners. While while India strongly rebuked the message of the song, she stopped short of calling a boycott. She did not call a boycott, but that's what people have been saying. Instead, her comments encouraged listeners to think more critically about the music they consume and the values it promotes. The conversation also raises a broader question about music as a whole. Explicit or self-destructive themes are not unique to rap, R&B, or blues. Many genres have songs that glorify violence, infidelity, substance abuse, misogyny, I probably said that wrong, exploitation, or reckless behavior. Certain rock and heavy metal songs have celebrated drug use and destructive lifestyles. Some country songs romanticize excessive drinking or revenge. Punk music has often embraced rebellion and chaos, while some pop and electronic dance music lyrics focus heavily on promiscuity, I'm sorry, intoxication, or shallow materialism. The discussion then is not simply about one artist or one genre, but whether listeners and creators should hold all forms of music to the same standard when considering the message they amplify. Let me put my glasses on. I apologize. Degeneracy is not specific to Black people, rap music, R&B, or blues. We as a culture should stop echoing this message and recognize that destructive themes can be found across every race, culture, and genre of entertainment. If we're going to have an honest conversation about harmful content, it should be based on consistent standards rather than stereotypes. Accountability should apply equally whether the message comes through rap, rock, country, pop, heavy metal, film, television, or any other form of media. Now, I said the last part of my content. I said this because as I was reading through the contents, now India had a lot of support. She did. She had a lot of support, and there was. I did have some comments that I'll go ahead and add to the stage. This is just a video of some of the comments. Now, she did have a lot of support, but one of the messages that I kept seeing over and over, and I couldn't find the post where they were saying, people were saying, we are the only race that embraces degeneracy, a degenerate culture. We are the only race, blah, blah, blah. And I kept thinking, well, that's not true. There were some other people who, were saying that too, because if you look around, if you look at the very top of this nation, you can see degeneracy. I mean, if you just look at America as a whole, you can see degeneracy. So I think we need to stop getting on these platforms and embracing that thought process that we are the only race or culture that embrace degeneracy. Um, so these are just some of the conversations that are coming out around this this song and India having the courage to speak up against it. And now again, some people are reporting that she said to boycott the song. She did not say boycott the song. Her message was, like we said, to use your critical thinking when you are listening to these songs, that these big record labels are putting out. I'll go ahead and play a video. I'm not playing the whole video. I only did just like 1 minute of what she said, some of the response that she was saying.
Okay. I have marks for my glasses.
Here she is.
My third album, Testimony, Volume 1, Life and Relationship, turned 20 years old on Friday the 27th. It snuck up on me. Somebody had to tell me. And so that's why I'm making a video right now instead of writing about this on my Substack, which, if you know me, you know I like writing on my Substack. And you don't need to see that bowl back there. Okay. And I've been in the blogs a couple times this last week, and so I wanted to come and talk about these things. Let's talk about the easy one first. It is being wrongly reported that I think we should boycott this song of the summer. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I refuse to sing that song, but either you know what it is or you don't. And if you don't, you can go find it. It's very easy. But I don't think we should boycott. What I want is to see people understand the power of words and music and to make choices that are healthy for them. That's what I want. Do I think it matters what I want for people? No.
So that was just a little gist, of what she said. She really just said we need to think about, what these big industries are pushing out to us, and how they are shaping our young folks and our children. So, that's a part of the conversation. But again, another bigger part of the conversation for me is also stop getting on these platforms saying we only raise it, we don't want, because we are not. You need to open your mind. You need to follow different types of platforms. Even people from other countries, follow different blogs and stuff, and you will see that no, we're not. Um, so, anyways, that's just kind of how my conversation is shaping. I've only listened to bits and pieces of the song. It's not to my tasting, not to my liking. It's just not something that you would hear me listening to in my home, in my car. And now, what a lot of the stuff that the people were talking about is, the psychological part of music, how they create this music so that it sticks in your head. And, you know, and Bo, you and I were speaking today, and I said that all I did was just scroll. I was scrolling through
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, and when you're scrolling
Mm-hmm.
through TikTok,
Here.
the sound plays, and that song
Mm-hmm.
came up. And
Mm-hmm.
as I scrolled on through, when I walked away, it was after
In
my
your
In
head.
your head.
and I'm
Hmm.
like, Lord, that's how they are. That's how it's designed to do that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, so that's just kind of my conversation. It's a few moving, I guess, pieces to my conversation of,
Mm-hmm.
but that's just the conversation that I want to have. So what do you ladies think?
Well, I mean, I heard what India Arie said. It didn't sound like she said anything negative. She
She
just
did.
basically said um, that she's not boycotting um, the song. So I don't know what the comment was that everyone, was getting upset about or chiming in on. But I mean, as far as the song, I know what song you're talking about, and I'm glad that you didn't play it because I've heard the song, and when I hear it, when I've heard it, it got stuck in my head too. I was going to
Hmm. It
sleep at
does.
night,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm hearing this in my head, and I don't use that type of language. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like just because you're scrolling, you don't know what song is going to play. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
hurry
Right.
up and turn it down,
Yep.
as I'm
Hmm.
scrolling because I don't want to hear it, you
Yep.
know. But it's just one of those things like when, I know we talk about, things that are, spiritual or Christian. Sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
Bible says, guard your mind,
Mm-hmm.
guard
Hmm.
your heart, and you
Right.
have to guard your
Guard
mind,
your
you
ear
know.
gates, your
Hmm.
Right.
eye gates,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
Right.
because I mean, it was like one night that song was in my head so
Mm-hmm.
much. It was just like, oh my God, like
Mm-hmm.
Lord, I
Hmm.
had to intentionally, start singing some other
Right.
praise music and, just intentionally,
Hmm.
in order to keep that from, playing in
Right.
my head. So,
Right.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, because like I said, the things she's saying, like she said,
she's glorifying,
The B word in there,
yeah,
and and I
boosting,
don't,
which is illegal.
yeah,
She's glorifying, and I
yeah,
think someone made a good point, says she is actually singing about stuff that can send you to jail.
right.
You
Mm-hmm.
glorify stuff that can send you to jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's no worse than Sexy Red and what is it, Pookie and all them
mhm,
other ones.
that was
Um,
another point. Yeah.
yeah, they're, it's not good. Even with Cardi B, Cardi even says she does not allow her own children to listen to her music.
Mm-hmm.
That tell you a lot when we allow our kids to listen to it, but the artist does not even allow their
Mm-hmm.
own children to
Mm-hmm.
listen to it. But they'll put
Mm-hmm.
it out there, and your kids will be all on social media dancing to it and stuff. And it's important to protect your ear gates, like I was saying, and your eyes, what you see, because that song is catchy.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is, I had heard it on the internet a whole lot of times, but I didn't realize that's who it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew it was a new little trending thing. And to be honest, I never really listened to the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Music has lost a lot of its body and consistency. It's just real cheap.
Mm-hmm.
It's not no substance to it, because if you listen to that song, it sounds like some computer generated beat
And even
that
the
she
video just seems like some
yeah.
computer would just
Mm-hmm.
bunch women
Well, they
dancing.
said the video is supposed to be mocking. Remember that one movie that Lisa Ray was in, where she was a
Oh,
stripper?
oh,
Yeah, I
Some of
haven't
the it
seen the
comes from,
video. I haven't
yeah,
okay.
it
seen the.
comes from that, because I
Mm-hmm.
looked at the video, but it does get caught in your head, and it is catchy. And this is
Seen.
fictional, but you
Mm-hmm.
all remember the story about the Pied Piper.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Remember, they called the Pied Piper in. So the story goes, he came in because the town had rats, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he played his flute, and all the rats
Yep.
left. But then the
Mm-hmm.
people didn't pay him. So he
Mm-hmm.
came back and he played the flute again, and all the children
Right.
disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's fictional, there is something to be known about music and what it does to your mind. It
Mm-hmm.
can take you somewhere sometimes, and it'll be hard to get out of that place.
It's a
So,
hypnotic, because
Right.
I've
yes,
seen people go and turn on their music and turn it up and just off in their own space, and just, what I'm saying, it's just basically
right.
hypnotized, and
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
else, what I'm saying, exists
Mhm.
when they're in that world.
Well,
Even
yeah.
when I heard one artist talking about the music she used to produce and what she produces now. She used to sing about heartbreak and my
Mm-hmm.
man did this to me and I was sad. And
Mm-hmm.
you guys probably know the story. She said somebody told her that they were looking for, they wanted a spouse or whatever. And she asked them, well, what music do you listen to? And they brought up all her old music. And she
Mm-hmm.
said to them, well, why are you listening to that?
Mm-hmm.
If you want a
Mm-hmm.
spouse and somebody be, why are you listening at me calling somebody a dog or saying they did me
Mm-hmm.
wrong? You shouldn't be
Right.
listening to that because you're inviting, that's the thought.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're inviting into your life. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone needs to look at what you listen to. That
Mm-hmm.
music don't
What you
have
letting
any
in there?
substance. It doesn't
Right.
Mm-hmm.
have any substance. And you'll be sitting there concentrating on that. Next thing you
Mm-hmm.
know, you have went out
Me
here and done
saying, you
something
saying
stupid.
it, not even, yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
Your words are powerful,
bad. Mm-hmm.
even if you're singing them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are
Agree.
all very good points, excellent points, ladies. And so another part of the conversation, and that's a lot of what India, basically what she said, what she was saying.
Mhm.
So another part of the conversations that I was seeing going on, and one thing I thought about also, yeah, I don't like this song. It's not anything I would play, but let's not act like that this is the worst song ever that's been played.
Right.
Even if we just
Mhm.
talk about our culture, because we remember when what is it called, gangster rap came out. That
Mhm.
music was detrimental, especially for young men. So let's not act like that this is just the worst,
Right.
song that has ever came out. And so one person made a comment, and I thought it is, it was intriguing to me because I remember when this happened. She goes, she is 100% correct. Many years ago, Forrest Tucker had the foresight to see just what was going to happen to society as a whole because of the ignorance. And she kind of her spelling was kind of off, so just bear with me. Because of the ignorance and the ignorant lyrics were becoming the only thing being played. Fast forward, and all it is shoot that ninja, this ninja that, bitch that, blah 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 blah. So she was talking about there were, and I don't think Florence Tucker was the only one, but there were, I think, three black women who had went to Congress and they tried to get gangster rap music banned. Do you all remember that? and they shut those women down. And then to this
Mm-hmm.
day, it seems like even a lot of black men, especially, just have a hostile mindset toward these women. Because they did. They went to Congress and they tried to get gangster rap music banned. Do you all remember that?
I think I do. Mm-hmm.
So she kind of touched on that, and then another person said, "I stand with India Arie. She is spreading wisdom and knowledge. Black people need to understand the power of words. Music has the ability to lift us mentally and spiritually. When the industry spits out a young Miami and others of her like, it
Right.
renders an unhealthy blow to our psyche. Our minds are powerful, but your mind will accept what you feed it with negative vile lyrics. And negative vile lyrics will have the expected impact on our lives." Dexter, I'm sorry, you all. Give me a minute.
Yeah, I peanut butter over here. I hear her breathing hard. She get ready to start because she hear him. Now she knew she should have put Dexter up before the show got started because he was just too quiet at the beginning of the show.
Right.
Like Dexter sure is awfully quiet.
Yeah.
That's a telltale sign right there.
Right.
Dexter done stole the show.
Okay, I apologize, you all. I apologize.
Uh-huh.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, so the second part of that, and I'm almost through. It goes,
Mm-hmm.
our minds are powerful, but our mind will accept what you feed it with. What you feed it with negative, vile lyrics will
Mm-hmm.
have the impact on our lives. I'm sorry, I'm reading. I copied these messages, so I'm reading them as they are. Conspiracy theorists in me believes that this is what she said. White executives and black ones who have been indoctrinated in evil ways want. She said this is what they want. She
Mm-hmm.
said Diddy did not become Diddy on his own. I agree
Mm-hmm.
with that.
Mm-hmm.
None of them did, really, if you ask me.
Right.
Very few of them did. I'll say that.
Mm-hmm.
She said we must do better and demand better or
Mm-hmm.
suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
And she kind of pointed out, but again, and I know we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
black community, but I do want to keep to the forefront again that whole degeneracy conversation. Let's not, act like,
Mm-hmm.
that's
She's the
just,
only one. Right.
yeah, specific to one culture or one group of
Right.
people,
Mm-hmm.
because it is not.
It's not.
Again, if you look at the very top of this nation, you see firsthand
Oh
degeneration.
yeah. Yeah. The nation as a whole,
Yes,
society in the
yes,
US
Mm-hmm.
has. I
Right.
mean, like you said, look at the felon in the office in the
right,
White House.
right.
So
So
that
Mm-hmm.
says a lot by itself.
yeah,
Right.
so I think we need to stop getting on platforms, saying this,
Right.
So that was my that's my discussion, ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And I could say a lot more, but I know, we have to move on to you all. Did you all want to say anything else before we move on?
Yeah,
I,
ultimately, it's up to a
mhm.
person what they want to allow in their lives and what they want to listen to. Of course, we can't stop anybody from listening to what they want to listen to, but I think it goes back to your core values. What's
Mhm.
Hmm.
valuable to you? What's meaningful for you? What do you want to allow in your ears? What do you want to allow in your atmosphere?
Yeah,
And
Mhm.
you have to sometimes just take a look at yourself and pull yourself back in.
Mhm. Yeah, you have to control what you let allow to come into your
Right.
spirit and your being, because the wrong things into your ear gate can corrupt you. And if you don't
Hmm.
want to be corrupt, you have to watch what you
Right.
allow to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
just
that's
hate
all.
it for the young girls and stuff,
Yeah.
because when I think about it, our parents protected us from a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
They shielded us from a lot of stuff. I know Mama got mad at me because I went to see Color Purple. I was probably about 13, and
Mhm.
Rachel took me to see Color Purple.
Mhm.
And Mama had already told me I couldn't see it.
Mhm.
And but Uncle Dan's girlfriend Rachel, she used
I
to come
remember
get
that.
us,
Mhm.
and she was coming to take me to the movie or whatever.
Mhm.
And she asked me what I wanted to see. I wanted to see Color Purple.
Mhm.
And boy, mama was mad at me. But when you
Mhm.
look at the color purple now, you probably think this ain't nothing compared to
Right.
what these kids are looking at.
That's
But my point of saying is that is they guarded us and they shielded us and they protected us.
true.
These parents today had their kids online dancing to
Yeah.
this stuff and
They're
out
exposed to
listening to
so
it.
much.
They listened to it in their car and stuff. You know, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
certain dad liked blues music, but it was certain songs he didn't play with us in the car,
Right. Mm-hmm.
because he knew, it was stuff we shouldn't listen to. And I feel sorry for the children because the
Mm-hmm.
parents are not on their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to listen to that's you, but you are obligated to raise your child
Mm-hmm.
and protect your child. I mean, children can't be children anymore because they're exposed to all this grown up stuff. So it's just sad that I mean I hate to see little kids dancing to this kind of stuff. And then people do stuff like even this one influencer, she does stuff with the dogs, I can't remember her name. But so she that dyes her dog different colors. I ain't gonna say her name because I don't need nobody coming after me, but y'all probably know who I'm talking about. But
Mm-hmm.
she got the little dog on there dancing to it.
Mm-hmm.
And certain things like that as children are scrolling or if they're online or whatever, they
They're
see
gonna
that
watch it.
and they
Mm-hmm.
think, so they're exposed to it. You really have to protect your kids in this day and age.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. I even with the grandkids here, I got codes on everything, so they can't look at this, and the TV won't go here, and the
Mm-hmm.
iPads won't do this. But I don't think parents do enough to protect the children.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think it's very selfish,
Hmm.
for them to listen to that kind of stuff and let that stuff infiltrate their
Right.
young minds like that. I think it's
Right.
really selfish.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
that was the conversation, lady. So we will go on and move on to Bo.
Okay. So today I really didn't have anything jumping out at me, for a topic, but I happened to be in the car and I did hear someone speaking on a radio station about sexual crimes in the church, and that kind of fit into the realm of things that I've been in for the past few weeks. So I said, let me look this up and see what's being said here. So I did look it up, and the information that I was privy to is sexual crimes in the church encompasses child sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and coerced acts by clergy, volunteers, or staff, planning spanning various denominations, including Catholic, evan, evangelical, uh, Protestant, and Mormon. Perpetrators leverage positions of trust to exploit victims. Historically, some institutions faced criticism for mishandling allegations internally rather than reporting them to civil authorities. So, what I heard on the radio, the speaker was saying that this is something that seems to be on the rise as well. Um, and so that's what kind of perked my interest to see what's being said. And I was a little now I know that we know that it's happened in the Catholic churches often. That's not something unheard of. We've heard of that several times over the past 2 decades. um Evangelical, I believe that's a church that we've heard those types of things coming out of as well. And now I was a little surprised to see that the Mormon church has reports of things like that going on,
Oh,
because I've
yeah.
met so many Mormons. Like, they, in the apartment that I used to live in, they used to come by all the times. They would come by and come and pray with you, and give you the Bible and invite you out to their church. And just a couple of few months ago, I met a girl in the store. She came to me and witnessed to me. She was also from the Mormon church. So it just made me think, with these Mormons, they're out there. They're in people's homes. Like, could that be, the source of things like that happening, or is it actually happening in the church? But
Hmm.
yeah, so I just printed out some literature about, the discussion today. Um one of the documents that I printed out talks about types of sexual harassment within the church. Churches are intended to be a sacred space, places of refuge, worship, and moral guidance. Yet, for far too many abuse survivors, these institutions have become sites of betrayal, trauma, and lifelong pain. Sexual abuse within the church is a deeply tragic and widespread issue, one that has spanned denominations, um, continents, and decades. And I just mentioned that it has, went on for decades, because I remember hearing things that happened in the Catholic churches, across the last couple of decades. But just to list a few places, other places that are Christian or church organizations that these things, it says that child abuse is in religious schools and youth programs. Um, Ritualistic or cult based sexual abuse is one of the, and it says in rare but disturbing cases, abuse may be ritualized or occur within extremist sects or cult like religions. Offshoot survivors may endure repeated sexual violence under the guise of spiritual obedience, and we know that's demonic. So, I mean, it goes back to when you think about when we were kids and we came up in the church. That, I remember our grandparents and the older people teaching things like the devil is in the church. He's there every Sunday. You know what I'm saying? So you just have to be careful, even in the churches, because everybody in the church is not there for the right reason. What emotional and physical injuries can be caused by church and sexual abuse? Sexual abuse in any context can cause lifelong harm. However, when it occurs in a place of worship, the trauma can be especially complex and isolating. Religious sexual abuse can lead to emotional and psychological injuries, post traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, nightmares, flashbacks, or disassociation, guilt, shame, self blame, fear of authority figures and religious institutions, spiritual crisis, or loss of faith. And that's a sad thing. Now I have a lot of, always have more that I could go on, but I'm just leading off the discussion. What would you all contribute to that discussion?
Well, I don't think that it's necessarily that these crimes are increasing. I think that people are speaking out about them more. I think these crimes have
Mm-hmm.
always went on in the
Mm-hmm.
church. I mean, we've heard about cases from, with the Catholic Church. There have been some major cases from that happened
Mm-hmm.
years ago.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that there's an increase. I think that people are they now feel
Coming
like they
out
have a
more.
voice. They now have a voice, and
Mm-hmm.
and they're not carrying that shame. Because a lot of times when stuff like you know those types of crimes happen to
Mm-hmm.
people, people are quiet about them because they carry
Mm-hmm.
that shame. For some
Mm-hmm.
reason they feel like it was something they did to bring that on them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Right.
so
I agree. It's nothing new. It's been happening since forever.
yeah.
You see sexual crime all the way
Mm-hmm.
back. You say not crime. It wasn't crime then, but you see sexual sin all the way back in Genesis. So
Mm-hmm.
it did not just start. What has happened is today we have so much information and we
Hmm.
have access to so much information. So things would happen in this little teeny town in Timbuktu. Nobody ever knew about it. But
Mm-hmm.
now people have the internet, they have a voice. And I've seen where people will get on and say, my name is so and so. I went to this church and this pastor did this to me from the time I was 5 until
Mm-hmm.
I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are all those allegations true? I'm not sure. And I'm just going to be honest with you because
Yeah.
even when I look at, let's say, the Bill Cosby case, I know it's not in a church, but I don't know that I agree with somebody coming back and blaming something on you 30 years later,
Hmm.
especially when you were an adult when it happened. Now,
Yeah.
if you are
That
a
part right there.
child,
Yeah.
that's a little bit different.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I just believe it's always been there. I mean, I remember
Hmm.
even in the Church of God in Christ. I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of times you would see musicians there a certain way, and how did they say they got like that? They said one of the preachers turned them out.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
So, but we, like I said earlier, our parents protected us from a lot of information.
Hmm.
So a lot of things we didn't learn about it until we were adults.
Right. Right.
To be, I mean, some people, knew about so many things. Like, for instance, I had no idea how homosexual people conducted themselves intimately. I didn't learn that until I was an adult.
Mhm.
Mm,
But some people knew that when we were teenagers, but
Mhm.
that's how protected and shielded we were.
Mhm.
mhm,
So, we didn't get all that information and our parents kept it from us. But they
Mhm.
also protected us by not leaving us alone with certain
Mhm.
people, by
Mhm.
mhm.
saying,
Yeah.
you a girl, you can't go over there, and people was saying,
Right.
oh,
Mhm.
you're no,
Mhm.
but they knew what they were protecting us from.
Mhm.
No, you ain't supposed to be an elder so and so face and trying to
Mhm.
no,
Mhm. Yeah.
so it was certain things that they done
Mhm.
to protect us and taught us
Mhm.
how to conduct ourselves
Mhm.
around certain people, and it kept us from getting in compromising situations that would allow people to have access to us
Mhm.
Right.
in a setting where something could happen to us.
Mhm.
So that strictness and that them doing those things for us kept us
They
out of
protected us. Yeah.
And I
predators'
know you
hands.
mentioned EM about people turning on their camera now because in the world of social media
Mm-hmm.
telling their
Right.
story, and then
Mhm.
you have
Yeah.
all these podcasts. But another thing we have, baby, is that Lifetime TV. Because
Yeah.
when
Mm-hmm.
when you mentioned the Mormons, I said, oh, there are so
Mhm.
many movies out there on Lifetime
Yeah.
about that
Is
church,
there
about the
really? Okay.
polygamy and stuff
Yeah,
Oh
like that.
yeah.
I've heard a
The
lot
things
about the
some
Mormons.
women went
I've
through. Yes.
heard that something about I've heard some, I'm not going to say because I don't know how true it is, but I've heard that there are things they believe about black people being cursed.
Hmm.
Something about men having multiple wives and things like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Now,
But not
I
but these
did.
multiple wives also not only multiple wives, but a lot of these young
Mhm.
girls were underage when they gave
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
them over to these old men.
Mhm. In the
And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mormon
and
church.
then a lot of these young women have come out and told their stories on
Mhm.
Lifetime and
Okay.
things like that. Yeah.
hmm So
Yeah.
there were a couple of other churches, because I don't just want to put the few out
Mm-hmm.
there that I
Mhm.
did, because some of the other churches that Southern Baptist Convention, that's a
Mhm.
very popular
Yeah.
church. Orthodox Jewish communities. So
Yeah.
it's been
It
something that's
happens. It happens in almost every
Oh,
every
institution.
church.
We
Uh-huh.
yeah.
can say the churches, but then you can say the Boys and Girls
Right.
Club.
But
You can say
I
you
still
can
want
say
to put it
yeah,
out there.
Boy
Islamic
Scouts.
mosques,
Yeah.
and that would be one that, because they're so
Mm-hmm.
strict to, they're praying and they're fasting and
Yeah.
stuff. I wouldn't think, but that was another surprise to know
Mm-hmm.
that it's happening in Islamic mosques as well.
Oh wow.
But
Okay.
there, something I read also was that there has been a change where before there was a limitation to how long you can report this type of things, but for these crimes that are happening in these religious places, they
Mhm.
have extended the time period for people making claims or bringing cases
Mhm.
against different organizations where this has happened. And I did just notice that there is a phone number if anybody needs legal support, if there's something like this has happened to you at a church or at a religious organization. There is a contact number listed here for resources. Um, and it's not only for that type of incident, but it also says for human trafficking, medical professional sexual abuse,
Mhm.
juvenile detention center sexual abuse, clergy sexual abuse, massage, envy sexual assault,
Mhm.
Uber or Lyft sexual assault, Mormon church. They have that one listed, so it must be a lot going on
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
Psychiatric treatment center abuse. All of these are falling under this umbrella for this contact number to get legal support. And that number is 209-243-0288. So anybody struggling with this, you don't have to struggle along. You can have this evaluated and you can seek compensation. So that's the number that you want to call, 209-243-0288.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good
Okay.
topic, Bo.
My pleasure.
And it's a hot topic because people are
Mm-hmm.
always talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate with with a lot of these so-called Christian bloggers. It's like they
Mm-hmm.
sabotage at stories
Mm-hmm.
like this,
Mm-hmm.
and even for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not. I don't know if they're doing it so much now, but I believe a lot of these bloggers were making up stories about certain pastors and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Salacious stories
Just to right.
just
Mm-hmm.
to so it's a hot topic. It's going to be an ongoing hot topic because for some reason people want to see the church,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, a lot of people want to see the church fail.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That was a good topic. Thank you, Bo. EM.
So we'll talk about my topic. My topic this evening is family reunions. It is family reunion time. It's that time of year. So I'm wondering, are you guys having family reunions? I was reading something the other day and it said family reunions have declined. They're not what they used to be, partially because families are spread out now, they're not close together. But to me, that's why you have family reunions because you're trying to bring everybody together.
Right.
Right.
People are getting together other ways, or they use social media to stay close. For me, the whole reason I got Facebook was so that I could stay close to my relatives in
Mm-hmm.
other states, so I could see what's happening. I could see the pictures. I could see what's going on with this cousin and their kids, and different things like that. But they also said that people are not close anymore either. 50% of siblings don't even talk to each other anymore. So many percentage of people have some relative that they don't want to deal with, so they don't want to be a part of
Spread
anything
out
the
the whole
family
thing.
does.
Mm-hmm.
And then the younger people don't want to take on the responsibility of planning a family reunion. It's too cumbersome and they don't want to do it. Or the elders and the matriarchs of that family have passed and they're no longer there. And my thing with that, with the matriarchs, is a lot of times they don't pass it on to the younger people. They want to do it and they want to do it and they don't want no help and they want it done their way. And then when they leave, nobody knows how to do it, or they don't want to do it because you wouldn't let them help. So now they don't have a desire to. So
Mm-hmm.
my question is, it is family reunion season. Are people still having family reunions? What do you see going on in your state? Do you think it's valuable to still have family reunions? I personally think it is. We are kind of spread out through the U.S. We're having a niece in Minnesota and, grandson in Florida, and I've relocated. And these children are all similar in age, and I just hate for them not to grow up knowing each other. So
Mm-hmm.
I think the family reunions are important, but also just having some type of family gatherings outside of that, even if it's not a reunion, just your immediate family. Like for instance, the other weekend we were at Veronica's and we did breakfast that morning, and I was thinking to myself, it would be great if everybody was here. If Dad was here, if Mike was here, if Pooh was here, if Bubba was here, if everybody was here, our sons, my sons, and if Maya, if everybody was here and we was having this breakfast together, this would be great.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts about? Are you hearing your friends and stuff? Are they having family reunions? What do you think is going on?
Not, not, not really as far as my friends and stuff. And I have a lot of family, but a lot of friends on Facebook too. Typically people will post stuff like that. Now there's
Mhm.
and I haven't seen people post like family
Right.
reunion stuff. Now what I do notice and what I think is that like families, like our families, I consider still somewhat close. All of us and Dad. When Mama was living, we get together and we do things. Um, and I feel like that's how families are now. Like let's say Uncle Junior, Aunt Bess. Just I'm just and they're that niche of the family. They may be off doing stuff together. The Woods. Aunt Mary and Uncle Jane will and that family. Very close. And so I think everybody is doing their own little thing with their own separate families and not as a whole, like the reunions. I think that
Mm-hmm.
that maybe could happening. But to your
Mm-hmm.
point also, I think a lot of families, there is a lot of divide in a lot of families. You see it on social
Mhm.
media. A lot of the stuff I see, you know, what a lot of these young people and even the parents, but mainly a lot of these young people, how they get on there and say, they've gone no contact with their,
Mhm.
now I
Right.
don't know their situation and stuff, so I really, but I'm always kind of just my mouth drops when when to see someone say, they've gone no
I don't
contact with
talk to them, or I don't talk to,
of their
yeah.
dad. Yeah,
When people say I don't talk to my
yeah,
sister, or I don't talk to my
yeah,
brother, or I don't
yeah.
talk
I'm
to my
always
mama.
amazed by that because
What? You don't talk to your mama?
yeah,
Come
yeah.
on now.
I'm always amazed by that.
Mm-hmm.
Amazed and kind of, perplexed because again, we were not raised like that, and
Mm-hmm.
then that's not to say, that our family's so perfect that we don't have disagreements and
Mm-hmm.
arguments.
Mm.
We have, but
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, we're still family.
So
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
I
I go
go ahead.
ahead.
Well, I
No,
was
you
going to
go
say,
ahead.
I know of a family reunion that is going to be happening on the 19th. And I don't think that as many people who are a part of this family are going to be engaging in it. I think that it's going to be, mostly one side,
Mm-hmm.
of the family when there are like, two sides intertwined kind of. So, I will be attending there because I told you guys I'll be singing there, but I I mean I'll let you guys know,
Mm-hmm.
how it turns out because I know, we had a family reunion 2024 and
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was a good time,
It was.
really
It was.
being with each other and, just knowing that we're all family and, what I'm saying, being it was just like a type of oneness that came to the over the
Mm-hmm.
whole, group that, you don't get to feel often, but it was just felt like a community. You know what I'm saying? Because it
Mhm.
was so many of us, and we know that we are all family. It's just a feeling that you get being around that many people and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that you are all family, you kind of get a closeness that you don't normally feel, any other time. So, you know, I think that is missing. And I think it does bring families closer together. And I think that
Mhm.
it did bring us closer together for the moment, and I think we still do, kind of, interact with each other more than we did, like maybe on social media and things like that, more than we did before. But I don't think that we're, like calling and interacting the
Yeah.
way that
Mhm.
if we were having it every year
Mm-hmm.
might bring about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the best feelings for me. Um, I think it's important to know your cousins, your aunts. It's
Mm-hmm.
that connection is important, and to understand who
Hmm.
they are and
Uh-huh.
what's going on. One of the things that I thought about when
Hmm.
my truck, the box truck,
Hmm.
was traveling across over the road,
Hmm.
and our driver he went up into Minnesota,
Hmm.
and it was some bad weather there,
Hmm.
and he needed somewhere to plug his he not plug it to park the truck. But
Hmm.
with me not knowing all this stuff about cold weather and that truck not
Mm-hmm.
starting,
Hmm.
for me to have a first cousin to say, "Hey, bring the truck here.
Hmm.
He can park it with my trucks.
Hmm.
I'm gonna plug it up,
Hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you ain't got to pay for parking." Then to have my
Hmm.
brother say, "Okay, I'm gonna go pick him up, take him
Mm-hmm.
to the house, and
Hmm.
we got him." So,
Hmm.
Right.
I wasn't out no money for no hotels. And when the
Hmm.
truck started up, they made sure the truck was maintenance,
Hmm.
So I had
Mm-hmm.
cousins and a brother there. And,
Mm-hmm.
just having that type of connection for,
Hmm.
they text me back and said, "Don't worry about send him here. We got everything." I didn't have to worry about anything. And that
Right.
wasn't just my brother, that was my cousins too.
Right.
And it was just like, and so it's important to know your family because you never know how you're gonna
Hmm.
need each other.
Right.
And for them to take it on like they did, and
Hmm.
I mean, I was just like, we didn't have, I mean, and it was cold, cold. This
Hmm.
was the coldest part of the
Mm-hmm.
winter in
Hmm.
Minnesota. So if
Hmm.
I had him go park that truck somewhere, guess what?
It
It
might
wouldn't
not
have
have stayed.
started. And
Hmm.
he had a load on there to deliver. And
Hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
they thought enough to make sure that that truck would crank up the next day.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so, having that connection, that just made me feel like it just made me feel so proud of my family
Mm-hmm.
because I got my brother, got my
Hmm.
cousins up there, and they told me don't worry about nothing. They
Like
and
Right.
they did.
they had him.
They took
Hmm.
care of everything. So,
Right.
Hmm.
I think knowing your family and connection and
Hmm.
how you all can help each other, you can help each other get better because that could have been a bad situation if we had that load on that truck and couldn't have delivered it.
Mm-hmm.
But just to have the comfort of knowing everything was okay, he was safe in a warm place and everything
Hmm.
else.
Hmm.
It's important to know your family and be
Yeah.
able to connect.
It
Hmm.
is important, and I think a lot of young children today. I think they're yearning that, not for
Yeah.
whatever reason. Like there's a lot of disconnect. They really don't. A lot of them don't have that, but I think children are yearning that because children want to, and I think it's
Hmm.
important they know where they come from, who they come from.
Right.
It's
That's
important
Hmm.
all a
for
part
children
of
to know
having
that.
a village.
Yeah, and that even
Hmm.
goes back to to our earlier conversation. We were talking about this music that they're pumping out into our children. If you know who you come from, and you raise them with
Hmm.
strong minds and stuff of who
Hmm.
they are, that type of stuff won't be so. it's not so easy to get a
It's
hold
to
of.
take you
Right.
over. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's
Hmm.
just like Carter and KJ. They love Jamie, you
Hmm.
And
know,
she
and
loves them.
yeah, and
She's
then
been
what's
asking about them for the last few. I want to see my cousin today. As a matter of fact,
hmm
I want to see
and
my
what
cousin.
and what's so funny is Malachi love Carter and KJ.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Malachi will not hardly play with any other kids. But
Mm-hmm.
when he see Carter and KJ, he looks at him, he swing his arms and he
Mm-hmm.
smiles at him and he gonna hug KJ at
Mm-hmm.
least 3 times. I can't even
Mm-hmm.
get him to hug me.
Mm-hmm.
But
Hmm.
he when he see them, he love them. I'm like, I think they've been around him since he was a baby. And
Hmm.
he knows them and he has some trouble connecting with other children. But when he get around them too, I mean he loves them and they love him too.
But
But
you
you
Hmm.
know,
know,
it's something about kids when you tell them this is your cousin. I think it's
mm,
something that automatically does something in their brain, and that's a God thing.
Hmm.
Because we have another cousin here, Chelsea,
Hmm.
and her little boy, she wanted her boys to spend some time with KJ and Carter,
Hmm.
and she contacted me, so I met her at McDonald's, and it's just amazing how those boys all clicked and were throwing each other down. And if you throw somebody down, that's a fight. Like, put your dukes up, it's on. But they were like getting back up, like, oh, just going at each other, and
Hmm.
it's just amazing to see. Just because, and they're not even first cousins, but just
Right.
to see, because they're cousins and they know that they're cousins, even though they don't really know each other, they're like, cousin, you're my cousin. Oh, we're best friends because you're my cousin. And
Hmm.
and I enjoyed that, just seeing them interact like that.
Right.
It's like I said, something clicks in them mentally, just knowing that they're cousins.
Right.
It's like they get this big smile on their face, like, that's my cousin.
Hmm.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
it
Children
just.
yearn for that.
Hmm. And I think about how we connected with our cousins, and
Right.
I
Yeah.
wonder, to myself, was that the same thing? Was it, really, we grew up with them, so we
Yeah.
knew them
Yeah.
all of our lives. But these that I'm talking about, they didn't grow up together,
Right.
but once they knew that they were cousins, it was like they did,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey Carter,
Oh no, I don't see Carter.
hey Carter.
he can't hear you. I have on
Oh, he
headphones.
can't.
I'm trying to keep him from acting up.
Oh, really?
Hmm. So, but that was my topic. I wanted to see how people felt about family reunions, if they're still having them, and
Hush.
just remind people that it is important to get together with your family and build
Hmm.
those connections.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's.
Veronica, that's it.
That was a good topic. All the
Mhm,
topics tonight was really good
mhm,
and engaging.
mhm.
Hey there,
Hi.
sweetie.
Yeah, and I was just, me and Kyrie were talking about things like that today. Like, I'm just
Don't
so
come over here
thankful
with no
that
shirt on. Don't
we
come over
still
here with no
have that
shirt
connection
on.
with him, and we got the boys, his boys, and we
Mhm.
got Jamie, and
Look,
they
no fighting.
already
If you
have
go in
that
there and fight,
built
I'm gonna
into
spank you.
them that we're
Oh
family. You know what
Lord,
I'm
I'm still.
saying? And I don't think that's going anywhere. It's just the connection and the bond is so
Okay.
tight with
Yeah.
the boys and then her.
Yeah.
And since I don't have kids, you don't have kids, so
Yeah.
that's everything to have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I agree.
Hmm.
I agree. Well, we got done earlier than I thought we would,
Yeah,
ladies.
we
It's not even
did.
9 o'clock yet. It's only 8:52. But still good time. And these were
Hmm.
all good topics tonight.
Hmm.
So, anything else before we close out?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Well, again, this is thank you for joining us. I saw, we held about 3 viewers throughout our podcast tonight, and whoever
Oh
you were,
wow.
thank you for joining us. Hop down
Hmm.
in the comments and engage. Let us know your thoughts on all of the topics. Let us
Hmm.
know your thoughts about India Arie, and um, the degeneracy culture and you know the way that the music has been going. Let us know your thoughts about church hurt and abuse.
Hmm.
Let us know your
Mhm.
thoughts about family and family reunions. We are 3 P's in a podcast.
Thank you for joining. We hope that we said something to perk your interest, something that was educational. Maybe you learned something. And we hope you drop down in the comments, give us a thumbs up.
Join
Three
us
P's in the
next week.
podcast.
We don't know what we'll be talking about, but we'll be talking about something. So
Something.
join us
Yes.
next weekend And tell us, are you having family reunions? What's going on in your family? Enjoy your evening.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Peace.